Dear students, in this video, we are going to discuss the living world. Life on the earth first appeared as early as 4.28 billion years ago. The earliest known life forms are microfossils of bacteria. And the classic experiment in 1952 done by Miller and Urey demonstrated that most amino acids, the chemical constituents of the proteins used in all living organisms, can be synthesized from inorganic compounds under conditions intended to replicate those of the early Earth. These molecules may have provided starting material for the development of life on Earth. Life is unique characteristic of our planet Earth. We are surrounded by life in different forms. Basically, we are living in the living world. So let us learn a bit of it. Diversity in living world. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. This refers to biodiversity. Then what is biodiversity? Biodiversity is the variety and variability of life on Earth. Biodiversity is typically a measure of variation at a genetic, species and ecosystem level. What is genetic variation or genetic diversity? Genetic diversity is the difference in DNA among individuals. So, how this DNA difference arises? The sources are going to be mutation and genetic recombination. And another one, species variation or species diversity. The number of different species that are represented in a given community is called as species diversity or species variation. And the last one, ecosystem diversity, deals with the variation in ecosystems where organisms are living. And now let us see what is biology. Biology deals with the study of living organisms and life processes. Or in another definition, we could also say biology is nothing but the story of life on Earth, story of evolution of life on Earth. So now a question rises here. What indeed is life? It has two implicit questions within it. One is technical question, another one is philosophical question. The technical question asks you what living is as opposed to non-living. We can answer that one by this technical question can be answered by our biology. Whereas the purpose of life, this cannot be answered by science or biology. So now we are going to see the technical question, that is what living is as opposed to non-living. Let us see what is life. Life can be defined as a unique complex organization of molecules expressing itself through chemical reactions which lead to growth, development, responsiveness, adaptation and reproduction. So these are complex organization of molecules. What are those molecules? Those molecules are going to be the DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, RNA, ribonucleic acid, proteins, which are made up of amino acid linked together by peptide bonds, and lipids, vitamins, hormones, water, and a number of metabolites. All these molecules organized together and involved in so many chemical reactions, and all these chemical reactions that are occurred inside an organism is called metabolism. By this metabolism, which leads to growth, development, responsiveness, adaptation, and reproduction. Let us see what are the characteristics of living organisms. So living organism used to have some specific characters so that we could able to identify them. So those characters can be divided into two types. One is defining, another one is not defining character. What is defining? Defining means if this defining character is there in an object, then you could call that one as a living organism. What is not defining property, character? Though these non-defining characters are present in an object, you cannot simply say those are living organisms. That is the only difference between defining and not defining characters. And defining characters are: one is metabolism, cellular organization, consciousness. Not defining are growth, reproduction. And the first one is going to be metabolism. What is a metabolism? The chemical processes that occur within a living organism in order to maintain life is called metabolism. These chemical processes or chemical reactions are divided into two groups. One is called catabolic activities, another one is anabolic activities. What are catabolic activities? So catabolic activities break down or destructive processes, destructive kind of reactions are said to be catabolic reactions or catabolic activities. They yield energy, they give energy. That is what they are called exergonic reactions. And another one is anabolic activities or anabolic reactions. By these chemical reactions, large molecules are formed. That is why these are called building up or constructive processes. They require energy and they take up energy. That is what they are called endergonic reactions. In this picture you could be able to see this is the large molecule. This large molecule can broken down into smaller pieces, smaller molecules, and this is the example for catabolism. The best example for catabolism is glycolysis, where glucose molecule is broken down into two pyruvates. Finally, these two pyruvate molecules are broken down into completely oxidized into water and CO2 by TCA cycle. And here you could see by these reactions energy is liberating out. And in the bottom picture tells you the same atoms or smaller molecules are grouping together to form a large molecule. These reactions are called as anabolic reactions or synthesis of larger molecules, and they need energy in order to synthesize bigger molecules. And this is all that about what is called metabolism. And if any object having metabolism, and you could call it as a living character, and it is a living organism. Let us move on to another one, cellular organization. Cellular organization. What is cell? What is organization? Cell is a functional and structural basic unit of life. A cell is a functional unit. Cell is a structural unit. It's the basic unit of life. And these cells are organized in a precise manner. What is organization? Each living being is organized precisely. That is why we call them as organisms. Okay, what is cellular? What is the definition of cellular organization? Cellular organization is the components that make up the cell and how they are arranged inside it. So for example, you take a plant cell. Plant cell used to have a cell wall. Inside plasma membrane would be there, chloroplast, mitochondria, nucleus would be there. So these are all components, and their arrangement is said to be, what is that one? organization. Each component called an organelle which performs a specific function, for example mitochondria, for example chloroplast. So these are all the components are also called as organelles of the cell. Let us move on to this is another one. If any object used to have the cellular organization, then it is said to be the definitive property. So here the levels of organization we are looking at. The first one is atom. This so many atoms combines together to form a molecule or a compound, and these molecules grouped together in a precise, they arranged in a precise manner to form an organelle, and number of organelles grouped together arranged in a specialized manner to form a cell. And so many, if an organism is made up of, what is that one, is made up of a single cell, then it is called unicellular organism. If an organism is made up of many number of cells, then it is called multicellular organism. Unicellular, the example of unicellular going to be bacteria. Multicellular, what are the examples of multicellular? Human beings are the examples. Now, so here the cells group together to form tissue, tissues group together to form organ, organs coordinate together as organ system, and organ system maintained as organism. We'll see more in the next. Consciousness. What is the meaning of consciousness? All living organisms have the ability to sense their surroundings or environment and respond to the environmental stimuli is called consciousness. This external stimuli that is coming from the environment may be some physical, or it may be chemical, or it may be biological. Stimuli are perceived by sense organs in animals, like nose, which smells, which the mouth, the tongue that tastes. So sense organs perceive the stimuli in animals, whereas plants, when you take plants, can also respond to factors like light, water, temperature, pollutants, etc. Both plants and animals respond to photoperiods, which influence their reproduction cycle as well. You know, seasonal breeders. So let us move on. Self-consciousness. What is self-consciousness? Super level of consciousness is said to be self-consciousness. This kind of super level of consciousness or self-consciousness only present in human beings. Why? Human beings respond to environmental stimuli very fast, and they can able to predict the changes of the environment, and they prepare for it in before. That is why they are called self-consciousness or super level of consciousness, which is only present in human beings. Let us move on to the another slide. Another non-definitive property, that is growth. Non-definitive property. All organisms show growth. Increase in size, mass, and increase in the number of individuals. For example, you take human beings, they increase their size, their mass, then you could say a human being is increasing. Whereas you take bacteria, whatever the increase in size cannot be identified by your naked eye. So we take into consideration the population, the growth of population is taken into consideration. So the number of individuals, the population growth, the population is taken as an indicator for the growth in bacteria. Whereas in humans, size and mass is the matter. And these two, size and number of individuals, these are the twin characters of growth. And growth can be different types. One may be determinate growth, indeterminate growth, intrinsic growth, and extrinsic growth. What is determinate growth or limited growth? If the growth is limited up to a certain age of the organism, then it is called determinate growth. You could see this kind of growth in animals. Whereas indeterminate growth, which is called unlimited, they grow until their death. Age doesn't matter here. So what are the examples for indeterminate growth? Plants. And intrinsic growth, growth from inside. We grow from inside, not from external side. That is what the growth is intrinsic. And this intrinsic growth is called as defining property of organisms. And another one is extrinsic growth. It is not the defining property. Why? Because, for example, this is also known as accretion. For example, a sand mound is there that can increase it by addition of sand. So that kind of growth is called as extrinsic growth or accretion. During growth, two types of substances are produced by the cells. One is apoplastic substances, second one is protoplastic substances. Protoplastic substances are components of living matter like cytoplasm and nucleus, whereas apoplastic substances are non-living material formed by the cells which becomes components of the tissue. Example, cell wall, fibers of connective tissue, matrix of bones and cartilage. So we can say growth is common characteristic feature of all living beings. The term growth is used in a physical manner, physical sense. If one organism is increased by its size or length, then we call it as growth. And the changes is quantitative. Whereas development implies shape or structure resulting in improved working or function. This is important. Development implies overall change in shape or structure resulting in improved working or functioning. Reproduction. Definition of reproduction. Production of progeny possessing more or less similar features to those of parents is said to be reproduction. Reproduction may be divided into two types. One is sexual and another one is asexual. In sexual reproduction, two parents are involved to generate their progeny. That is why it is called biparental. Asexual, here a single parent is sufficient to generate their offspring. So this asexual may be done through spores, budding and fragmentation. Spores generally done by fungi, budding, hydra, fragmentation by planaria, that is true fragmentation. So this is all that about asexual reproduction. And we are also going to take into consideration regeneration. What is regeneration? Or repair is another word is also there. Regeneration or repair. Regeneration, here planaria shows the true regeneration. This is called morphallaxis. What is true regeneration? If an organism, if this planaria cut by two and whatever the cutted one generates into full form of organism, then it is said to be true regeneration. And epimorphosis, repairing some body part, regaining some of its body part is called as epimorphosis. And sometimes this reproduction is not a definitive property because mules, sterile worker bees, even in human infertile couples do not produce their progeny. That is why reproduction is not a definitive property. Let us move on to the another slide. Other living characters. Others are going to be, one is movement. Animals and some unicellular forms have the ability to move from one place to another place, called locomotion. This is necessary for what? To get their food, for shelter, or for mating purpose. But the plants lack, what is that one? Locomotion. Nevertheless, some movements of body, parts of body structure can be seen in plants. Example, roots move in search of water under the soil, flowers closes at night, etc. These are also some of the movements observed in plants. Whereas another property is going to be homeostasis, very, very important function. Homeostasis is said to be maintenance of internal environment. Maintenance of internal environment. Despite the changes in the external environment is called homeostasis. So whatever the external environment may be, the internal environment should be intact. That is called homeostasis. This process occurs at all levels, from cellular level to the ecosystem level. So let us see, most of the known modes of homeostasis occurs through, number one, maintenance of an internal environment. Second one, self-regulatory, that is maintenance of an internal environment in the sense thermal regulation, so adjusting the temperature inside the body. Osmoregulation, so these are all internal maintaining of the internal environment. Whereas another one, self-regulatory mechanisms using genetic clock. You might have heard about, what is that one, lac operon, where the lactose introduced into the system, then only the lac enzymes are being produced. That is called self-regulatory mechanism. If there is no lactose in the media, then the organism won't synthesize any enzymes that are involved in lac operon. So that is self-regulatory mechanism would be there. A genetic mechanism would be there. And another one is feedback system. This is an important thing. What is feedback system? For example, just consider this is a chemical reaction where A is converted into B and B is converted into C. What happens if the concentration of C is more? Then what happens? C directly goes and bind at the enzyme, the enzyme that converts A to B. This is called feedback inhibition. This is very important in the regulation of metabolism. Another one is going to be nutrition. Nutrition is the common property of living organisms. So according to nutrition, so we could divide the organisms basically into two types. One is autotrophs and another one is heterotrophs. Auto means self, trophy means nutrition. They could able to synthesize their own food. That is what they are called, autotrophs. Heterotrophs cannot able to synthesize their own food. They depend on others for food. That is what they are, heterotrophs. Autotrophs can be divided into two types. One is photoautotrophs and another one is chemoautotrophs. If they synthesize from light, the food is synthesized from light, then it is said to be photoautotroph. If chemicals are being utilized for the synthesis of the food, then it is called chemoautotrophs. And heterotrophs are maybe divided into different types, consumers, detrivores and saprophytes. Nutrition is also very, very important property for the organisms, living organisms. And another one is excretion. Excretion, generally nitrogen wastes are being excreted out from the living organisms. These nitrogen wastes are produced by the breakdown of proteins into amino acid, nucleic acids into nitrogen bases. They ultimately give out ammonia, amino groups. and these can be divided. If organisms which secretes directly ammonia, they are called ammonotelic. Most aquatic animals are ammonotelic. And ureotelic. Ureotelic, the animals that secretes urea as a nitrogen waste, as a waste material. And the last one is going to be uric acid, uricotelic. So majority of the reptiles, birds, snails, insects, these are all uricotelic. So we could divide based on excretion into three types. One is going to be ammonotelic, uricotelic. Three types of excretion methods are there. So by that we could be able to divide the living organisms into. And another one is aging. Aging starts before birth, continues up to death. Each and every organism used to have a specific lifespan. And last one is death. Every organism will die. Another property is going to be adaptation. The useful structural, functional or behavioral changes developed in a living organism over long period of time so as to adjust itself according to environment are called adaptation. Adaptations can be divided into two types. One is called short-term adaptation and another one is long-term adaptation. Let us see what is there in short-term adaptation. They are temporary changes. They are developing in response to temporary changes in the environment. These are not inherited. That means they don't go to their progeny. Those characters won't go to their progeny. And here in the short-term adaptation, DNA is not changed. There is no role in the evolution. So the examples are written here under, you could see them. And long-term or permanent changes. They are depend on response to permanent change in the environment. These are inherited. DNA is also changed, play an important role in evolution. The white color and highly scented flowers produced by night blooming plants to attract pollinators are the example. Kangaroo makes use of its thick tail as fifth limb for balancing the body while running. These are all said to be adaptations. Let us move on to the another one. Evolution. Let us see what is the difference between an evolution and adaptation. A form or structure modified to fit in a changed environment is said to be adaptation, whereas a change in the characteristics of biological population over successive generations is said to be evolution. A change in the phenotypic level, a change in the genotypic level, a short-term change, long-term change. It's a reversible change. Reversible change occurs over generations, results in phenotypic variation, results in new species.